defense attorney representing Donald Trump. Joe, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you coming on. It's a bit tough, but a respectful conversation. You and I have worked together on rapper Meek Mill's case. You've done this show with Meek Mill, A$AP Rocky and others. But that's why I wanted to talk to you. Why would someone like you, with the respect you've had and still have with me, represent Donald Trump and what many of your friends, many of people like me, consider a racist and who has now put this district attorney's life in danger?
You know, I spoke to a lot of people, yourself, some of my clients who you know, we just talked about some of them, Rocky and Meek and others, about doing just that. And you know, I'm a litigator. I represent people on the far left, Reverend, as you know. I was honored by the National Action Network, which is still one of the greatest achievements I've received. I've received, and that was something. That was something that was so important to me. I represent people on the right and the middle. I'm sort of apolitical when it comes to litigation. What I do is take cases I believe in, and this case I believe in. I believe in this case and the other case I'm representing former President Trump on, because I believe that the rule of law is in jeopardy. And that's why I'm so passionate about these cases. Look, you know, we have to represent, as defense lawyers, represent people who may be unpopular. Obviously, he's popular with some people, unpopular with other people. But the rule of law is what needs to apply here. When we start to stretch the law to get a political opponent, which I believe is the case here, it is rarely possible to return that law to its original shape ever. And I see we're in a situation now where there's nobody else, Reverend, who would be prosecuted under these same set of facts other than Donald Trump by Alvin Bragg.
Let me push you on that, because I think that you raised something that the facts as this case is unraveled clearly is contradicted. Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, is the same Alvin Bragg that would not go forward with the case when he first came in office.
Correct.
2 of his ADAs resigned because he wouldn't go forward.
Correct.
1 wrote a book.
Right.
So clearly Alvin Bragg must have seen almost a year later, or had presented him evidence that does say he has to uphold the law. If he was doing something political, he had already decided not to go with it. He was attacked, he was maligned, and he didn't do it. So if there's anyone that would be very difficult for me to believe was doing something political, it would be a guy who didn't do the case in the first place when everybody wanted him to.
He became under an enormous amount of pressure after that book was released.
The pressure was over, though.
No. After that book was released, and after he went on 60 Minutes, Pomerantz talked about how Bragg wouldn't go forward. It was then when he took a case that was deemed dead on arrival.
The pressure was over. Are you kidding?
The pressure started once that book came out.
The book didn't even make the bestsellers list.
I hope not. But there is pressure.
The law is
no one else would be prosecuted for doing what he's alleged to have done.
People have been prosecuted. You have people that have been prosecuted that has been cited right on this station. Lady about a couch that she turned in the wrong receipts. There's all kinds of cases that you see. It is very simple.
It is.
You have a lawyer who paid a woman 10 years after the alleged sex act, right before an election, and he was reimbursed by your client. How is that not a prima facie case that the grand jury has?
It's clearly not. Because I'll tell you what, there's 2 massive distinctions here in campaign finance law, which I've become sort of expert in. I've listened to Bradley Smith, the former head of the FEC. 1, unlike John Edwards, this was paid with personal funds. So there's a massive distinction there. Oh, it does.
It doesn't matter.
Yes,
what was
there's
the
a statutory
intent of the payment? What was the intent of the payment? To
prevent embarrassment to himself and his family. Even Michael Cohen said that under oath when he pled guilty.
So you're saying that Michael Cohen paid the star, the porno star,
whatever,
so that Donald Trump wouldn't be embarrassed to his family, and it just coincidentally happened a couple of weeks before the election. For 10 years, they weren't worried about it.
She came forward when he was running for presidency. She didn't come forward for 10 years before. Some might call it extortion, but putting that aside, Reverend, listen to me. It has to be, for it to be a campaign finance law violation, it has to be exclusively done for the campaign.
If we were in court, I would ask them to read back your statement. She came forward 2 weeks before the election, which meant you were reacting to the election. election.
No, it meant you were reacting to an extortionate attempt to hide something that did or didn't happen. The president said it didn't happen. She said it did now before she said it didn't happen. But here's the thing. When Michael Cohen pled guilty, the now cooperator against Donald Trump, he said two things. This was done for the election, and it was done to protect the president and his family from personal embarrassment. That takes it out of the realm of personal campaign finance law because it would use personal funds. Listen,
Joe,
the bright line test is simply this. If the expenditure or payment was made with personal funds, would it have been made irrespective of the campaign? The answer is 100% yes. These nuisance settlements were done every single day, Reverend. Every single day.
Donald Trump has been accused of many things in those 10 years that he could have been personally embarrassed by. He didn't pay and he didn't have his lawyer pay. You're going to tell me by some coincidence.
How do you know there were no settlements in the last 10 years?
And
they're confidential. They're supposed to be confidential. No, if they're confidential, they're supposed to be. Well, I could cite plenty, but they're confidential.
2 weeks before the election, you have his lawyer that made the payment saying it was because of the election.
And because of personal embarrassment to himself and his family.
It doesn't matter what the addition was.
No, it does.
If it was because of the election, it's an election violation. I'm not a lawyer.
The FEC chairman. FEC chairman said it does matter if it was something for personal funds were used for something other than exclusively the campaign, then it's out of campaign finance law. Otherwise, he would have paid with PAC funds. He would have paid with campaign funds.
If Mr. Donald Trump reimbursed the lawyer for paying this woman at a time that there was going to be damage to his campaign, it is in fact about his campaign. No, that is campaign finance law.
The law has to be is exclusively for the campaign.
So your defense, if there's an indictment, is that, well, he did it for the campaign, but he also did it because he would have embarrassed Milana. Is that the defense?
No, the defense is there was no crime committed. What is the crime here? Please explain the crime.
The crime is that you had a lawyer pay hush money on behalf of Donald Trump to prevent any embarrassment or any kind of issue before the campaign.
You just laid out our defense, and Reverend, I appreciate that. I'll bring it out.
Well, that's campaign finance because of the campaign.
Campaign finance because
I said because of the campaign
and personal embarrassment.
No, I didn't say personal embarrassment. You put words in my mouth.
You did, Reverend.
All right, let me get your reaction to something else. We can disagree on the law, even though I'm not a lawyer. I could see through that. They're not lawyers on the grand jury, by the way. Let's go to some of Trump's statements about the investigation because they seem to have a pattern of behavior. Last week, he lashed out repeatedly on Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, on Thursday calling him a, quote, animal. Backed by Jewish billionaire George Soros. He did this on his Truth social media site. A day later, just after Trump warned of, quote, death and destruction, I'm showing what he wrote, if he was indicted, he said, death and destruction. The DA received a letter containing a non-hazardous powder and a note that read, Alvin, I'm going to kill you this morning. Does he have no obligation, as some who held the highest office in the land and is actively seeking to hold that office again, does he have some obligation to denounce the kind of violent threats Alvin Bragg is facing, or at least not making the statements that appear to be encouraging that kind of behavior?
Listen, Reverend, I'm honestly, I'm not here to defend all things Donald Trump. I'm here to defend this case. Okay, Donald Trump is Donald Trump. He's as aggressive as he is.
Does he have an obligation to denounce the rhetoric and what has happened to Alvin Bragg? We had a prayer rally for Alvin Bragg this morning. This man and his family could be under serious
threat. What someone sent to Alvin Bragg has nothing to do with Donald Trump.
How do you know that?
Because Donald Trump would have nothing to do with that.
Donald Trump wrote death and destruction if I'm indicted. He announced that he was going to be indicted Tuesday.
That came from leaks. That came from leaks.
He posed with a bat.
No, he didn't. No. So let me explain that.
Wait, just a minute. There was a picture with a bat that someone had put together he reposted. Did he not?
So however,
will the witness answer the question?
The witness is about to answer the question.
Did he repost it?
However ill-advised that post was, reposting he reposted
Does
the article.
Does that mean that you stipulate he did repost it?
Well, apparently he reposted, but I also know he took it down when he realized what was in that photo. He was reposting an article, but he did take it down.
So I stabbed you in the back, but I took the knife out.
Before the knife did any damage.
before the damage.
Reverend,
so if you are Alvin
Reverend,
Bragg's family and you see a repost by the former president of the United States with a bat next to your father's head.
You understand that was not his photo. It was in an article.
He reposted it.
It was but he was reposting the headline of the article without seeing the picture. When he saw the picture, when he was notified, he took it down.
So you're telling the American public that Donald Trump didn't see the picture?
I'm telling the American public I'm here to discuss the case and the facts. Social media is not what I do. I'm not a PR person for Donald Trump. I'm here to litigate the case. There is no crime in this case. And so I can understand why he's becoming upset. He is becoming politically persecuted. Look, people on the left, people on the right, no one in this country should want to weaponize the justice system to go after a political opponent. Reverend, you know the better.
I agree.
Right? In the 60s,
and that is why,
in those civil rights movements down south, you could spit on the sidewalk. It was a felony because they wanted to get people.
And if Alvin Bragg was going political and listening to political pressure, he would have done it a year ago when he didn't do it. And two ADAs would not have resigned, and it would not have been a book.
And once they resigned,
anybody that could say it wasn't political, it's the guy that wouldn't do it when it was political.
Except now he's doing it because of pressure.
Do you? I'm going to end the way we started. I respect you. We work together.
You too, Reverend.
Do you feel Donald Trump has an obligation to deal with the threats that are now pouring into the DA's office?
I can tell you Donald Trump does not want anyone threatened in this case.
Does he have, he's going to speak in a couple of hours, does he have the obligation to denounce
I'm not speaking on his behalf regarding his personal obligations or obligations as a leader. I'm here as a lawyer. Reverend, I'm sorry, I told you I can't answer those questions. You may believe he has an obligation. And I'm not arguing with you about that, by the way. You understand that, right? I'm not arguing with you. But I know he's made it clear he doesn't want anyone to threaten Alvin Bragg. That's what he has said.
Do you know that for the first time in my life, the New York Post and I agree that this is outrageous? That I mean, and the defense is that he may not have seen the picture at the end of an article. You're a great lawyer, but even you couldn't get a jury to believe that. But thank you for coming and doing the show tonight.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thank you for your time. And I hope you'll come back if there is.
Reverend, whenever you want me, I'm here. You know
is or is not an indictment. Let's talk about it.